73 years ago, yesterday, World War II ended. America's involvement started after the attack on Pearl Harbor, then ended on September 2nd, 1945, when Japan signed surrender documents on board the USS Missouri, or the Mighty Mo. Our Craig Worth was on board the ship when it was decommissioned 26 years ago in 1992. This morning, he takes us to the deck where VJ Day took place. It's worth watching.
It was the headline in the Salt Lake Tribune. Japan signs surrender. Rights on USS Missouri mark return of peace. The Provo Sunday Herald. Japan signs surrender terms. Truman proclaims VJ Day. The Ogden Standard Examiner. Japan signs unconditional surrender. The Roosevelt Standard. Japan signs surrender. Rights on USS Battleship Missouri mark return of peace to world.
The Japanese surrender party arrives. They are headed by Aged Mamoru Shigemitsu, Foreign Minister of the Japanese Surrender Cabinet.
The terms of surrender are fully, promptly, and faithfully complied with.
Indeed, that moment that took place on the USS Missouri was a long time ago. 73 years ago, to be exact. And that war that defined the parents of the baby boomers of today is nearly 3/4 of a century in the past. One by one, the military hardware that those of us as baby boomers knew are now decommissioned, including the jets that made the phrase the jet age. And for what happened on the deck of maybe the mightiest battleship of them all, it causes us to pause and remember the historic USS Missouri. I can't help but remember the ship as we remember September 2nd. I got to cover the event when the Navy said farewell to its last battleship ever. She was that World War II ship that went on to Korea and then to Desert Storm. And the people came back to see her one more time. It showed even then, in 1992, how long it had been since World War II. We have lost so many who knew those days.
Those bunting is there?
Yeah?
That was my battle station. I was a second loader on a 5-inch gun.
As the president declared, this VJ Day was always to remember the end of the war. Let us indeed remember all the sailors, including the crew that last day. How do you end the service of maybe the greatest ship of them all, the place where World War II ended? The captain boards one more time.
Captain, the commission pennant is hauled down. Very well. Admiral Cody, Missouri is decommissioned. I stand relieved, sir. Very well. Bless all those who have served aboard the Mighty Mo. May the Lord of Peace bless us, keep us in peace. Amen.
Yes, and may we remember all on this VJ Day. The final log reads that the crew was relieved at 1100 hours, 31 March 1992. In the tradition of the Navy, the captain was the last to leave the ship.
They were kids one day, and the next morning they woke up and we were in combat, and they were true professionals. And with all the people that served on Missouri that are still alive from World War II and Korea that come aboard, you know that there's still ghosts aboard that are walking those decks, and you're proud to be part of them.
And once decommissioned, they allowed a young reporter back on what had been a Navy ship 5 minutes before. It's 58,000 tons of ship, and perhaps the most historic spot of it all is here on this deck. The very spot where General MacArthur accepted the surrender and the end of World War II, and representing thousands and thousands of soldiers who served on hundreds of ships and planes and on foot, making VJ Day possible. Craig Worth, News for Utah.
What a ship. All right, the USS Missouri was later taken to Pearl Harbor, where she now sits as a museum.